everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Sarah and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I embroider the chain stitch. Specifically, I'm going to show you how I embroider branches, vines, flowery things. So that is the goal in today's video, just show you how I do my embroidery on these plushies. Mainly I use this embroidery on my dragons just because I love a really good detailed dragon, but you can use this on pretty much any plushie you want. I have with me a unicorn, so we're mixing it up today, no dragons. And this is Beatrice the unicorn. If you're interested in her pattern, she is available in my Etsy shop, so that'll be linked in the description. Like I mentioned, you can just use this on any project you want, anything you want to add some embroidery pizzazz to. For materials, you're going to need just a few things, whatever you want to embroider with, so whatever colors, yarn types, textures, whatever you want. I used Sweet Snuggles Light to make this unicorn, but I will be using Parfait Chunky to embroider, so feel free to use any yarn type you want. If you want a smaller, more delicate embroidery, then you can use a smaller yarn type. If you want it to be a little chunkier, use a bigger yarn. Now you'll need a needle for that yarn, so in this case I'm going to be using my metal one, but you can also use a plastic needle. Something with a little bit of a bend in it will work best. You also need a pair of scissors, and let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go for a cutie mark-esque kind of situation. So I'm going to be embroidering on this part here. First thing you want to do is, of course, find your end. And I'm going to be using this super glittery yarn. I think it will add an extra magical touch to this unicorn. So we're going to begin by threading your needle, whatever needle you end up using. And we're just going to start at any point you want. I usually like to just start kind of out of the way and then come out wherever I want to start making a vine or a branch, whatever we're going for. So you want to pull out a nice length of yarn. I recommend leaving your working end uncut just because if you run out of yarn on this end, you can always leave a length here and bring it in. Now the chain stitch is fairly simple. What we do is we go back in through the same stitch we came out, and then you want to go through one stitch over. Doesn't matter where, just kind of wherever you feel like will look best. You can go straight, you can start curving it, whatever you feel like. Now we're going to take our needle and go right on through. And while we do that, we're going to create a loop. And I usually like to stick my hand through this loop, and then eventually will be one finger just to keep the loop from slipping away. Now a lot of people will immediately put their yarn through this loop and then just keep going, but I personally like to make sure the loop is facing the right direction and is flat before I put my needle through. A lot of the times the yarn can get twisted, so I just prefer to take that extra step instead of making it one smooth motion, just to make sure that the loop is as pretty as I want it to be. That is the chain stitch. Next step, we go right back through that loop we just made, through that same stitch we went through, and out into the next stitch. Figure out which way the loop sits so it sits nice and flat, and then stick your needle through it. And then as you go, you can just adjust things with your needle. When you're all finished, you can even things out a little bit, so it doesn't need to be perfect right now. But that is essentially the chain stitch, so you can just keep doing this process all the way down. Go back through the loop. Stick your needle through the loop. Now, when you get to the end and you don't want to embroider any more loops, what you want to do is just go back into the same stitch you were in, but don't go through the loop. This will secure the end, especially if you're going to be embroidering blooms or flowers on the end of these. It won't matter too much how it looks, but you definitely don't want to go back through this loop because you'll unravel what we just did. I'm going to go ahead and come out back over here and create another vine. So that's just 3 stitches right there. So let's say that you want to leave this as is. You don't want to add anything extra to it, and you want to clean up this middle a little bit. What I recommend doing is going underneath all of the loops right in the middle. Try not to get any of the stitches of the body while you do this, just the embroidery. And then you're gonna pull nice and tight, and you always wanna make sure you go back through that first one you went through as well, just like so. And that kind of cleans up any gap that might have been there. Go ahead and go right through the center and come back out to where your other end is. And there you can see it closes any gaps that were there and cleans it up a little bit. So that's what it's looking like. I realize this is looking a little bit symmetrical on my part, but that's okay. I'm going to be adding a flower probably in the middle. Eventually, we'll see. That's what you get for freehanding. Sometimes it turns out a little symmetrical. Now that we're done with the chain stitch itself, we're going to go ahead and embroider some blooms or buds, flower buds, if you all want to do that as well on your plushie, whatever you're ending up embroidering. Grabbing another color, in this case I'm going to be using this purple. Thread your needle. Now, if it makes it easier for you, you can go ahead and weave these ends in, but I'm just going to leave them for now in case I decide to add any more green. We're going to start in a random stitch wherever and come out at one of the places you want to add a bud. And now what I like to do is just simply go around the loop over and over again. And while you do this, you want to make sure that you're pushing the secondary color, so in this case this purple yarn, up against one side of the stitch, preferably the actual end of said branch or vine. And this just keeps everything nice and even without any green gap. That's kind of the goal, is you don't want to see any green behind this purple. And once it's as big as you like it, you can just keep going, creating loops over and over again, or you can keep it pretty small. You go ahead and move right on to the next spot. And you just repeat this over and over again. And there are the buds and the vines. So the way I like to secure the ends is very simple. It doesn't need to be perfect. I just do a couple of knots on both of these. Now, unless somebody is very bent on ripping out your embroidery, it won't easily come undone. You'd have to really get in there and like be picking at it. These knots do not need to be anything crazy, nothing tight or anything. You definitely don't want to sink your embroidery in too deep because then you won't be able to see it very well. But I'm just gonna go ahead and weave these in. I just go back and forth a couple times and then tuck the rest in. There is the embroidery finished. Now, depending on your yarn type, your needle, etc., you might have some stuffing that came out while you were embroidering. I just like to go ahead and pick those off when I see them while I work, but you can also do any cleanup you need to now. Just rubbing your fingers over it kind of wakes anything that shouldn't be there up. You can also at this point go ahead and adjust anything as you see fit. If something sticks out a little bit too far or not enough, you can use your needle to kind of put things back in its place. So now I think I'm gonna add a tiny flower, probably here and here. Maybe do like a little cluster situation. I'm gonna go ahead and do that maybe in another tutorial. If y'all are interested in a tutorial for a couple small flower types, let me know in the comments and I'll film another crochet foundations for that as well. If you appreciate this tutorial, feel free to like it. I always forget that the like button even exists, so if you want to like it, feel free. Thank you all so much for watching, especially towards the end. If you did, leave a flower emoji, your favorite kind, since we are talking about vines and flowers and all that fun stuff. And with all that said, I will see you in my next video, which will be a market vlog, so I will see you then. Bye!